and that had somewhere around 82 or 83,000 miles on it. The Durango now, which is the other one, is that that one there is...
No, you have the, says 2007 Ford Crown Vic Cruiser, midnight cruiser.
That's the 8 a.m. to midnight. That's from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight. That car runs 16 hours straight. And now at midnight we're using the detail car, which has 119,000 miles on it. We're using that one to go from midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning.
So you have, the low mileage is, you have a Ford Expedition with 35,000 miles on it. You have a Ford Crown Vic Cruiser with 56,000 miles on it.
That's the one that works from 16 hours a day, that one that's got 56,000 miles on it. That car has to be available for the daytime officer to go out and patrol with. You can't, I mean, he needs that car. And when the detective goes out and does his work, he has to have his car, just like every other department has a car for the detective. And the lieutenant is in the same position as I am, is that when a call comes in, we end up responding. There was somebody brought me this thing. I wouldn't have even bothered looking. I haven't looked at this thing for months and months and months. Is that
don't.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Don't dignify, please.
I really shouldn't. That what we're doing is that we're building a dynasty or something of that nature. We have not increased the size of the fleet since either 2003 or 2004, since we put that SUV on. But all the vehicles, and one thing to take into consideration on two of them is the 1998 Mercury and the 2000 Dodge Durango. These vehicles cannot be used in regular police work because they're only passenger cars. They can't take high speeds and stopping and idling for a long period of time. They're pleasure vehicles. They're not police cruisers. So that's why they get minimal use.
Which ones are those, Chief?
The number 1 and number 2, the 98 Mercury,
Okay.
like I say, that's a pleasure vehicle, and the 2000 Dodge Durango is also a pleasure vehicle, and they get very limited use.
Now, how is this Dare vehicle, when is that out?
The Dare vehicle is at the station, and Charlie McCarthy uses that when he goes out. He's been using that on and off for doing school crossing. When he has to go do chores and errands during the day, he takes that. And if I decide that when I go out on patrol, rather than going in the unmarked Mercury, I'll take the Dodge Durango out and go on patrol. But that's it's basically was given to us as a Dare vehicle.
My take on it, I think the two mainline cars we need to have need to be the most up-to-date and current vehicles. I have no problem with that. I think it's the most critical. What I'm confused about on, could car 2, 4, and 6 be interchangeable for the detail car?
2, the Dodge Durango can't be used as a regular police vehicle.
For a detail car? I mean, detail car, you're just doing details. You're not...
They're doing details, but for that to sit for a prolonged period of time and just idle, it's I don't think the vehicle can handle it.
I don't know. Okay.
Like I say, it's definitely just a pleasure vehicle. And the other one was 4 and
6.
And 6. The Expedition, we use that primarily for bad weather, and we don't use it as much. We try and keep away from it because I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of 10 miles a gallon. But in the wintertime, that has been a lifesaver last year with all the snow we had. Without that car, we would have been in dry dock. We wouldn't have been able to answer calls.
But it's still a backup cruiser.
That one there, if something should happen, we can end up using it. If the guys are out and the cars are being used, or if it's over, one of the vehicles is being worked on for maintenance, lube and grease oil and filter, what have you, then if we need another car, that one there is there, but it's not used as a frontline vehicle. And we anticipate that that car, with only having 35,000 miles on it, we just got the last of the 4-year payment was just done, and we don't anticipate replacing that for at least 4 or 5 years anyway. But if we keep the mileage down on it and just use it as for bad weather, the car will last. There's no need of trading it in every 2 or 3 years like we do with the other cars.
Okay, so back to car 3, Lieutenant Baldwin's cruiser, that is out. I mean, does that travel with him? Does that stay at the station?
That stays with him when he's in town. there was someone saying that when he goes to do his military duty in Boston, that he takes the car. That's an absolute fallacy. He's in the same basic thing as when we're in the immediate area, we stay with these cars, and it just makes it easier that, I mean, with myself, when a call comes in, I find that I respond faster than most of the, a lot of times with the rescue, because I'm already mobile, and with the officer, because I'm there and I can respond. If I wasn't in a vehicle, I couldn't respond, and I'm not going to respond in my own personal vehicle. So by having that car out and being visible patrolling, it's you're getting a freebie basically, because you're not paying anything for it.
And car 5, the detective's cruiser, what's the status with that?
That one there stays at the station, and he uses that every day when
Is
he's
he a
out
daytime
doing.
guy or is he a nighttime?
Daytime.
Daytime.
They say the thing to consider is that we are not increasing the size of the fleet. All we're doing is maintaining what we've had for the past at least 4 years. To take into consideration, if you decide not to replace that cruiser, then it's going to cost you an additional $13,000 next year to replace one, because the money that you get from the insurance company this year can't be held over. It has to be turned into the general fund. So next year, instead of coming up with $8,000 to replace a car, they run 25, so you're going to have to come up with another $17,000, where this year it's not going to cost you anything.
See, I'm Easter convinced that we need 2 frontline cars and they have to be the best and the greatest they can be. I'm more concerned about some of this older stuff that, you know, this, like, for example, this Dodge Durango doesn't seem really it's being used for anything besides miscellaneous.
It's used in the wintertime. I will say that in the wintertime, that is the vehicle that I use, because a rear-wheel drive car in the snow time is no good. So in the wintertime, that's the one that I use so that I can get around with 4-wheel drive. In the summertime, it's left here, and they also use that when the elderly affairs, if we have 4 transports and the 3 cruisers are being used, then they'll take the Durango and use that for transports also. But again, that car's got 71,000 miles on it, and it's more of a personal vehicle. It's not a police-equipped vehicle at all.
Is there a reason we gave, and I'm way before my time, the 2002 to Lieutenant Baldwin? I mean, how many miles, like this 2003 Ford Cruiser, looks like that thing's not going to be long for this world.
The 2003, the one that's used for details, that car is probably going to be, you should be able to get at least another year, maybe 2 years out of it without any problems at all. Because it's used for, they don't use that for high-speed chases. 118,000 is not too bad. I mean, compared to the ones that they use for elderly fares, 132,000 and 129,000 miles on it. But this one here was primarily used for details. And like I say, that's the only one in the fleet that's a moneymaker.
Right.
That brings in $64 a day. And you have to have, when they go on a detail, the telephone company will call up and say, I need an officer and a cruiser.
No, I have no problem with that. I think you need that, a detailed car. I just worry about the mileage on it.
The other car that you mentioned, number 3 there, the 2002 with 60,000 miles on it, the Lieutenant